It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
But the reality is, if people could sell by pressing a red button and not go through the process, they would do it. Also, the off-market buyer's agents' big thing at the moment is we will secure a property for a purchaser off-market and we'll get it for you before it goes to market. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to get you a deal.
And that is Danny Taylor on the Real Estate Breakfast this morning, talking your property from Cairns to Hobart, Darwin to Sydney, Perth to Melbourne, right across Australia, and streaming on your favourite platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Another Friday has turned up, Friday the 12th of December, getting very close to the big day. Lots of expectations at this time of the year to head away on holiday, but not everyone is feeling that excitement, unfortunately. Now, we've seen building companies collapse and leave people out of pocket, and now it's happened in the caravan world. Zone RV, a luxury Aussie manufacturer, has gone under, owing around $40 million. Staff are out of work, and hundreds of customers who were gearing up to collect their caravans and hit the road for long-planned holidays are suddenly in a horrible mess with no holiday plans and money that has disappeared. Actually, ABC reported on a couple, Brock and Melina, who watched the Zone RV creditors meeting from their mine site in Mount Isa. Now, they were due to fly home and collect their caravan today and embark on a hard-earned holiday. Imagine working all year in a mine job and looking forward to the break after planning the caravan with all of those different components that you select to put in it. It's a little bit like building a house. There are hundreds of options that you can choose from for caravans, and unfortunately that has all disappeared. So our thoughts are with anybody that has lost all of that in the last 48 hours. Hey, don't forget our real estate email is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us, let us know how your property journey is going, or perhaps where you are going this Christmas, what your holiday is looking like. Let's go to Sydney right now and catch up with Danny Taylor from Ray White. He represents Rose Bay, Dover Heights, Vaucluse, Bondi, Bellevue Hill, and Double Bay. Good morning to you, Danny. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast. There will be envy from other agents around the country saying, gee, just how lucky you are. But before we talk about that, unlucky those people losing their caravans for the holiday season.
Craig, good morning. Yeah, thanks for having me. That is a very sad story right before the festive season, and it's quite a contrast, as you say. You know, you talk about the area that I work in, and yes, agreed. I feel exceptionally fortunate and very lucky to be doing what I do and where I do it, and quite a contrast to those that have lost their mobile homes just before the holiday period. Very sad at a time of year that's meant to be, you know, relaxing and exciting. It's a sad circumstance.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate for those people. And yeah, you're right. It is quite the contrast. One of your suburbs that you represent, a waterfront home in Rose Bay, fetched around $55 million. It is a suburb record. When there are these massive sale prices, when they happen, it does reshape expectations from vendors who suddenly say, wow, my house is worth XYZ, which ain't exactly how it works, of course. Readjusting a vendor's mindset, you know, it isn't the easiest thing to do when the market in the luxury space is moving upward.
Yeah, so that's an out-of-the-line sale. And it's interesting, when a sale like that does happen, you know, you get the neighbours or the neighbours in the other streets and they, if that's sold for this, my house is on bigger land. I can see the top of centre point. They could only see the bottom of centre point. It does sort of change a vendor's perception. And then I guess you've got to get onto that educating stage and go through the notions on why it's sold for that and why your home, you know, is perceived at this price. But it happens in every suburb. It happened in Bondi a couple of years ago. A semi sold for 6.7. All of a sudden, everyone in the street was then saying, oh, mine must be worth that. And so fair point.
Well, you mention Bondi Beach. The Christmas season is here, and given the rising demand for coastal living, especially around Bondi and Bondi Beach, how are you seeing the balance between apartments and houses change there? Are there buyers that are leaning towards lifestyle or long-term investment? What have been some of your observations over the past 12 months?
Investors are coming back to the market, but I've also seen there have been downsizers from the North Shore who have decided to come to Bondi and downsize for that lifestyle. There has been very limited stock of both homes and apartments in Bondi, Bondi Beach and North Bondi, which has kept prices at a very high level. So I guess it's who's buying these homes. You are getting young professionals. There are a lot of downsizers that are coming and buying luxury apartments or even, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments. But it is a lifestyle decision, yeah.
We are talking this morning to Danny there in the very desirable locations. When we come back, we're going to talk about a luxury suburb that has a great median house price if you are an owner, and we'll look at the buyer profiles and who is dominating the luxury sales. We'll talk about all of that after this.
Every morning from 6 a.m, we bring you the latest real estate news with diverse perspectives from leading industry experts. We deliver the most property podcasts across Australia every week.
And right now it is time for another property tip. And recently we were talking to Lauren, a buyer's agent there in Brisbane. You got a great one for us, so tell us what it is.
Yeah, so if you're looking to purchase an investment property and the property will be vacant at the time of settlement, I suggest you put some additional clauses into the contract of sale. The first one allowing you to gain access to the agent's marketing photographs. The second clause to allow you to actually advertise the property up for rent prior to settlement. And then the third one, if you're lucky, allowing access for the property manager to conduct rental inspections prior to settlement. All three of these clauses will hopefully mean that you can get a tenant in sooner into the property and minimise that vacancy period.
Listen to expert perspectives with exclusive real estate conversations and supercharge your knowledge base with us.
And it is a Real Estate Friday, working into another weekend. Danny is here in Sydney talking to us about these luxury suburbs with Bellevue Hills median house price nearing the $10 million mark. Now, how are these buyers and sellers adjusting to those valuations, Danny? And is Bellevue Hill still seen as the top ticket suburb in Sydney?
It is seen as that, and I also saw that it was voted the number one suburb in terms of property pricing, based on the fact that, I guess, its location, close to the city, very central, bigger homes, again, limited stock. It all comes down to stock levels. Those buyers are paying a premium. Those vendors are getting a premium. And yeah, look, Bellevue Hill is just really, really outperforming every other suburb around.
Yeah, so it's big money. That sort of leads us on to this question of off-market sales. Now, why are they happening in these exclusive areas? We talked this year about that, and off-market isn't mass market in terms of promoting a property, but some of these people, these vendors, these owners, they just do not want the publicity around a sale. There are various organisations that love, of course, to promote. We never do, but there are others that promote these individuals that are buying. Yeah, I can kind of, on one hand, see where an owner is coming from, but then on the other side, I'd really love to get the most that I could for my property, no matter where it is.
There are a couple of reasons why a vendor or an owner would decide to sell off market. Yes, one is the privacy aspect, but the other element is, we don't want to spend the money on a campaign. We want to do it quietly. And there is the potential to get a better price off market. But on the flip side, if it does go to market, it could be hotly contested. And I'll give you a case study around that in a second. But the reality is, if people could sell by pressing a red button and not go through the process, they would do it. Also, the off-market buyer's agent's big thing at the moment is we will secure a property for a purchaser off-market and we'll get it for you before it goes to market. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to get you a deal or a cheap price. but sometimes a purchaser will pay a premium not to see the property go to market. But the result for a vendor is not always the best. So I had a semi a couple of weeks ago in North Bondi. A couple of buyers agents came through and they made me an offer, which I thought, and it was a good offer in the high threes. It was an estate sale, so there were a few people involved and siblings. So the vendor's lawyer suggested we go to market so it's fair. And it ended up getting at auction 8 bidders, $400,000 over that off-market price, which I thought was a great price at the beginning. But, it just shows that if you do go to market, you can get a better result. There are pros and cons to off-market, and you've got to define what is off-market. Off-market means it's not on any portals, doesn't go online, doesn't go on domain, it shouldn't even be sent to an agent's database. It should be, I've sold a house in this suburb, I've got the perfect buyer for your home, would you be interested in selling it off-market?
You said a really interesting thing which had my ears prick up. You said that some of the reasons can be that these vendors who are selling these exclusive properties worth millions and millions of dollars don't want to spend on a marketing campaign. I mean, seriously, are they that tight?
Well, it's not even that. They don't want the 4-week campaign. Every Thursday, every Saturday, clean the home, have people through. But the reality is, in an off-market, that's a more structured campaign as well. Whereas off-market, you'll call them the day before and say, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I'd love to bring Joe Smith through tomorrow. Is that okay? So, and a lot of the time, these off-markets do end up going to campaign because there's an adjustment in the vendor's mind, and it's kind of phase one of the campaign.
We should just, before we go, look at these downsizes because this is pretty big at the moment in your market. Somebody downsizing, boy, are they having a windfall. It's like winning lotto in some cases.
Oh, look, there's a lot of apartments going up in my core area, luxury apartments, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and there's strong demand from downsizers, just wanting low maintenance luxury. They've sold their big family homes. They've got 20% over. People downsize. They want to buy something else, but also have a sort of slush fund left over for the rest of their time. But they are paying big money for these luxury apartments all around my core area, just based on the exorbitant money that they're getting for their homes that they've lived in for 40, 50 years.
Nice to be some. Hey, Danny, thanks so much for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning and giving us a breakdown on all of those luxury suburbs. Go well into the break for the new year and have yourself a great Christmas and talk again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a wonderful break. Enjoy your Christmas, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Every morning from 6 a.m. across Australia, we deliver you the latest property news, commentary and predictions from Perth to Cairns and from Melbourne to Brisbane, 7 days a week. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a first-time buyer, know your property with us on the Real Estate Podcast.
Where we could borrow 85 and 90% without paying any lender's mortgage insurance. And for that reason, the only reason they were able to get back in, what that meant was the interest rates were really high. So anytime you go over 80%, the interest rate jumps up. And whilst these LMI products are fantastic in terms of saving money and not having that additional cost to outlay, they hurt you with a higher interest rate.
Yes, indeed. And we do feel for those first-home buyers where some of them have just abandoned the idea of buying a property for them to live in. Instead, what they're doing is they're buying these investment properties.
I've seen a lot of that, especially with the younger generation. So your under 25s, where they don't have, the servicing, they don't have the income to service these large mortgages that are needed to buy a house in Sydney. So what they're actually doing is they're going interstate, buying properties in growth areas. Some are using buyer's agents, some are doing it themselves.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.